Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be podficking the first chapter of the One Piece fic that I am currently writing. This is How to Stop a World-Ending War, Chapter 1, Revisiting Childhood. Luffy wakes up to a familiar laugh. His body feels weird, almost like it's too small, and he notices pain underneath his left eye. Opening his eyes, he sees Shanks sitting on the floor and laughing with his crew. It worked. I'm back at Makino's. This must be right after those bandits left, he thought. After making sure he'd already finished eating the Gomu Gomu no Mi, he softly said, Shanks, can you and Ben come outside for a minute? I need to talk to you. Confused as how the boy was acting compared to a minute ago, Shanks nodded and came outside with Beckman. What's up, Anchor? I told you to stop calling me that, Luffy said with sharp teeth, then sighed. I need you two to let me finish talking before saying anything, and don't freak out, okay? Receiving a nod from each of them, he bluntly said, I'm from the future. About 15 years in the future, actually. When the other two burst out laughing, he glared at them until they stopped. Wait, you're actually serious, aren't you? Shanks said. Nodding, Luffy told them what had happened. How Frankie had built a time machine. How the Marines had broken off from the world government. How Blackbeard had beaten him to Laugh Tale and was trying to take over the world. How a massive four-way war had broken out between the world government, the Marines, Blackbeard, and the Revolutionary Army. How he and so many others had joined with the revolutionaries, but their side was still wiped out. How all his nakama except for two had died protecting him from Akainu and Blackbeard. Barely able to hold back his tears as he relived the painful memories, he told them everything. I'm not lying, he sobbed. I wish I was. Kneeling down, Shanks pulled the boy into a hug. It's okay, we believe you. But now you have a chance to change things, right? You can make sure none of that happens. Nodding, Luffy stepped back with a determined look on his face. Wiping his tears, he said, But right now there's some mountain bandits I need to take care of before you lose your arm again. Shanks and Beckman looked at each other and followed him as he easily found the bandits with his observation haki, then used his Conqueror's haki to knock them all out. As Luffy tied up the bandits with some rope that he'd found, Beckman muttered, And that proves it. A 7-year-old couldn't use haki like that if he wanted to. Shanks nodded in agreement. Hey Luffy, what did you mean by lose an arm? Oh, last time I wasn't strong. I almost got eaten by a sea king and Shanks lost his arm saving me, Luffy replied as he stood up and dusted off his hands. Well, they're not going anywhere. Listen, guys, you can't tell anyone about this. Sighing, they said, We know. Thank you for trusting us with this. I know it couldn't have been easy telling us all that, Shanks said. We're going to help you out however we can, okay? Luffy nodded. That's part of the reason I told you, because you can help. The rest of Shanks' visit went by rather quickly, with Luffy training practically non-stop and occasionally sparring with Beckman and Shanks. On the day Shanks was about to leave, Luffy ran up to him and handed him a note. Give this to Whitebeard for me, okay? Tell him to do what it says or things will end very badly for his entire crew. Just make sure he understands that it's a warning, not a threat, he whispered. Shanks nodded and placed his hat on Luffy's head. And this is yours now. Give it back to me when you become the Pirate King, he said, smiling. Beaming, Luffy replied, You know, from everything his partner told me, I think your captain would be very proud of you. He used intentionally vague language so no one else would understand, but Shanks got the message. Looking happy and sad at the same time, Shanks boarded his ship and gave the order to set sail. Right before they were out of earshot, he yelled, Good luck, Anchor! I told you not to call me that, Luffy roared with sharp teeth. Sighing as the red forest disappeared from view, he decided to go back to training. When Garp finally arrived to take him to Dodon's house, Luffy had retrained his armament haki, though not the advanced levels yet, and had remastered his basic moves like pistol, gatling, and bazooka. His body still wasn't ready to handle any of his gears, but that was fine since he wasn't going to set out for another 10 years, and he'd definitely master 2nd, 3rd, and even 4th gear before he set sail. He wasn't sure about Gear 5. He had no way of knowing when he would awaken his fruit in this timeline after all, but he figured it would happen when he needed it. For now, though, he was going to see the bandits and his brothers. This time, he was able to catch up to Ace in the first day, and the three boys became fast friends and then brothers. They trained every day, and to Ace's shock, Luffy beat him and Sabo every time. Of course, Luffy was only using his most basic moves, but Ace didn't have to know that. Sabo was still getting used to not being made of fire anymore, but his record against Ace was much closer to what it had been in the original timeline, since he wasn't using his newly remastered hockey and weapons weren't allowed in the training matches, so he couldn't have his pipe. They still stole money for the pirate fund and built a treehouse for them to live in, but they spent a lot more time training. Luffy and Sabo even taught Ace arm and observation hockey, but warned him not to use it outside of the Grand Line other than in an emergency. Luffy and Sabo also worked on mastering some of the more useful 6 powers, like Soru and Geppo, but they hadn't perfected them yet. Then one day, their observation hockey alerted them to Blue Jam's crew messing around with some extremely dangerous boxes. Luffy and Sabo looked towards each other and nodded. It was time for their mission. A very confused Ace tagged along as they ran towards Blue Jam's hideout, and explained that they need to take out Blue Jam right away, or the entire Great Terminal will be in trouble. Sabo, who had managed to stay under his father's radar this time around, came up with a plan, and they snuck inside. Luffy used his Conqueror's hockey to knock out everyone, and Sabo tied them up while Ace and Luffy gathered the boxes. It took the rest of the day, but Ace and Sabo managed to throw all the boxes into the ocean, a considerable distance away from the island, while Luffy dragged the pirates to the jail in Fuchsia Village. As they were about to go to sleep, Ace said, "Hey Luffy, what was it that you did to the pirates earlier? They just fell over." That was my Conqueror's hockey. I don't know if either of you could use it, but it allows me to use my willpower to overwhelm weak-willed opponents, Luffy replied. After a more detailed explanation from Sabo, since Luffy sucks at explaining things, Ace thought the ability would be awesome to have, so he asked the other two if they could help him find out if he had it. The next couple of days were spent trying to unlock Ace's Conqueror's hockey, but nothing worked, so they just told him how to control it if he did end up having it, and went back to their normal training. A few days passed before Luffy and Sabo sensed a familiar presence arriving on the island. Excited to see him again, the two ran to the coast, with a confused Ace behind them. "Kaze-san!" they yelled. "Luffy, Sabo, good to see you," the man said. "I see the first mission went well." As Luffy and Sabo nodded, Ace spoke up. "Who are you, and why are you here?" "You may call me Kaze. I'm here for Sabo," he replied. "What does that mean?" Ace asked, instantly on guard. "It's okay, Ace, he's a good guy," Sabo quickly said. "I'm going to be leaving and joining him and his group." After a long discussion, Ace was finally convinced to let Sabo leave with the mysterious man. "Bye guys," Sabo called out as he walked away. "See you on the Grand Line." Making eye contact with Luffy, he added, "And Luffy, make sure to keep your mouth shut about you-know-what." Yeah, I know," Luffy shot back. "Bye, Sabo," he yelled out loud. Later that day, the two boys went to Dodon's house with 2 large crocodiles. "We brought dinner," Luffy yelled. "Why are you two here?" asked Dodon. "And where's the other brat?" "We wanted to let you know that Sabo left the island," Luffy said, "so you won't be seeing him anymore." "And Luffy insisted on bringing you guys dinner while we were here," Ace muttered. "Well, thanks, brats. Wait, he left the island?" Dodon said. After explaining to Dodon and eating dinner with the bandits, the two of them returned to the treehouse. "Be careful, Sabo," Luffy muttered as he fell asleep. And with that, that was Chapter 1 of How to Stop a World-Ending War. Thanks you all for listening, and I will see you next time. Hope you enjoyed.